Hey everybody, it is Kellen Nitro for Nitromaniac TV's Wrestling Unlimited, coming at you with another episode of Nitro's Take, and for the fourth consecutive year, it's kind of become a yearly tradition around this time of year to cover Impact Wrestling's biggest pay-per-view of the year, and that is Bound for Glory, and that pay-per-view took place on October 24th, 2020, the first time in a long time, or in a while at least, that this pay-per-view took place on a Saturday night instead of a Sunday. This is usually a Sunday night affair, live from the Skyway Studios in Nashville, Tennessee. So if you're brand new to the channel, this is some of my favorite moments from the pay-per-view, coupled with some insights, some opinions as well. I'm a fan, so hey, this is what we do. So again, Impact Wrestling has not had shows in front of a paid audience since the start of the pandemic. This show really mirrored Slammiversary from this past summer in how it was presented. There was a ring, there's the set, and then there's a cordoned off area where fans would stand at the Skyway Studios in Nashville, Tennessee. But it is, again, itself just basically ring, set, and camera people. It's a closed set type thing. Also didn't get a chance to watch the pre-show. Apparently on the pre-show there was a tag team match between the Deaners, Cody and Cousin Jake, taking on the Rascals, so Dez and Wentz, Zachary Wentz and Desmond Xavier. So this tag match ran 342 and the Deaners got the pinfall on that. I hadn't seen that match. I just kind of started just right with the pay-per-view. So it still amazes me to this day that they are still using the old DVD FBI warning. Way back in the day when TNA first started doing DVDs, that kind of was the same rollout on the same time that they rolled out on Spike TV up here in Canada. We saw these DVD warnings with the FBI and the square and all that stuff. It's a standard definition, just kind of on black DVD warning, or FBI warning, I should say, that was on basically all of their home videos. They've kept that throughout the years, even to now. So I guess they just like it. It gets the point across. A really groovy cinematic recapping EY's push, Eric Young's push as his current run as Impact Champion, Impact World Champion, I should say. It has him in basically like an insane asylum or a prison, and basically running things down, saying that this is the end of Rich Swann tonight in the main event. And then we go right to Josh Matthews and Don Callis on the call. And very interesting here that Matt Stryker and Don Callis had the kickoff show, so I almost wonder if this is a potential for a brand new commentary team with Stryker and Callis going forward, or if Stryker and Callis are just going to handle these smaller shows on Access for Impact, and potentially they save Josh Matthews for pay-per-views and the larger shows. It could be that sort of lineup. Like I said, didn't get a chance to watch the tag match on the pre-show. And if I remember, I'll post my thoughts on Twitter. And what did you guys think? Post it down below. What did you guys think of the Stryker Callis commentary team during the pre-show? Also, I need to preface this by saying that I do not watch Impact weekly. Maybe once in a while I'll catch their shows, but I take time to watch their major pay-per-views, Slammiversary and Bound for Glory, of course. Hard to Kill is the next one. This got details on that coming up in this, and so on and so forth. But I don't subscribe to Impact Plus. I don't, go out of my way to watch Impact. If I have a chance, I'll set the PVR, as they are still on the Fight Network up here in Canada, and check it out. But that's the thing, is that I just kind of jump from pay-per-view to pay-per-view with them. It's kind of fun to check in once in a while and kind of see where they are. And I'll also say that I watched this pay-per-view the day after it ran. So I actually watched this on October 25th, 2020, instead of WWE's Hell in a Cell card. So this was my Hell in a Cell alternative, just because I'm not a fan of WWE creative right now. And details about that, go watch the October vlog here on the Nitromaniac TV's Wrestling Unlimited channel. That'll give you all the deets you need to know. Alright, let's start breaking down the matches. It opens up with a X Division 6-way scramble for the X Division title with TJP, Chris Bay, Trey Miguel, Jordan Grace, Willie Mack, and the champion, Rohit, the X Division champion. So it was pretty cool to see an intergender six-way kick things off. Enjoyed the exchange between Grace and Mack, two powerhouses. Mack showcased very heavily during this with a series of high-flying moves from the big man. Concludes with a standing moonsault on Rohit for only two. Man, it's insane. Jordan Grace and Trey Miguel also had a fun exchange post-outside dives to the outside. Concludes with a mega superplex by Grace, where basically all 6 contestants of this match ended up on one corner, and Grace, just as a powerhouse, just kind of launched him down from an inverted position. But she got caught up in the corner, and that's where Rohit did his best heel work, I thought, of the match. Rohit's so loud in there. I love it. Yeah, I became a Rohit fan during this, man. The Desi Hitman is quite the mid-card heel, I gotta say. Just kind of a weaselly, slimy type character. I'm not sure if that's his current alignment right now in Impact, but to me that's what he came across as, is just kind of a mid-card heel that you want to have on your show. Like, this guy was amazing in there. TJP locks in a knee bar on Grace, but has to switch to Trey ASAP, but it's broken up by Jordan Grace and a senton. She could hang with the guys in this. This was very impressive, a very eye-opener for sure. Grace driver on Trey only nets 2. TJP hits a frog splash on Trey, but while covering for the pin, Rohit hits a knee on TJP, breaks up the pin, but gets the pin on Trey Miguel for the 1-2-3. A very fun opener. The runtime for this is 13:20. So Rohit's first and current X Division title reign continues. Long may he reign. I think he is the perfect fit for that title right now. The Desi Hitman, for sure. And like I said, became a fan of him during this match. He was great. He was awesome. Now, of course, with this pay-per-view, it being the biggest pay-per-view of the year for Impact, it rewards people who watch their show on a weekly basis, of course, with all the storylines and so on and so forth. The Rosemary Johnny Bravo wedding. I guess there was like a bachelorette party happening at Bound for Glory backstage, and the majority of the invited roster is in the Call Your Shot Gauntlet. So I laughed at this entire room getting cleared out as Jimmy Jacobs walked in and said, "Hey, if you're in the Call Your Shot Gauntlet, you're up next. Let's go." And the entire room just clears out, save basically Taya Valkyrie and Johnny Bravo. it was actually pretty funny. Up next, to Call Your Shot Gauntlet. Love this match concept with both men and women involved in this. Think Joey Janela's clusterfuck from the Spring Break shows, independent super shows, stuff like that. Except the winner of the Call Your Shot Gauntlet gets a title shot of their choosing at any point in time over... I'm not sure if there's a set time period or not. I didn't catch it. Maybe it's over the next 12 months or so in Impact. But anyway, they get a title shot of any point in time. So if Heath or Rhino end up winning this thing, they are 2 of the 20 participants. If they win this thing, they are in with Impact Wrestling. They get contracts. They're in with the company. If they're eliminated, if either one's eliminated or they're both eliminated, then they both are gone from Impact Wrestling. And then, of course, there is the caveat of the title shot, and Heath and Rhino want to team up for the Impact Tag Team titles. That's the storyline that I got out of this. So... anyway, Rhino draws number 1, and Sean Daivari draws number 2. A very surprise entrant in this thing. Former X Division champion in 2009. A very pleasant surprise. Dude looks like $1 million even today. Dude doesn't age. Keeps himself in great shape for sure, and it was awesome to see that name on a national pay-per-view once again. So just run down the other entrants in this thing. I'm not going to go through the process of elimination for this. We'll just get down to the final 4, but the other people involved in this were Larry D, Crazy Steve, AC Romero, Tennille Dashwood, Havoc, Brian Myers, who actually eliminated the most amount of people, I think with 6. He either ties or breaks the record in this thing. Swago, Tommy Dreamer, Alicia Edwards, Kira Hogan, Taya Valkyrie, Fallah Bah, James Storm, the returning Cowboy James Storm, which was awesome, Adam Formstow, Luster the Legend, Heath and Hernandez were the participants in the Collier shot gauntlet. So let's jump now to the final 4, which was James Storm, Sami Callihan, Rhino, and Heath. Now, Heath had injured himself earlier in the match, legit. Actually, he hurt his hamstring on a leg lariat on Fornstall from Reno Scum during the match, and you could tell that it was bothering him. You can tell it was bothering him big time. And once we got to the final 4, Callihan eliminates James Storm, and then Heath as well to get Heath out of the ring. I mean, creative might have been for Heath and Callihan to stand one-on-one here for the storyline and for progressing the match forward, but instead we get Rhino and Sami Callihan. By the way, forgot to mention, once this Battle Royal got to the final 2, then it would become a standard one-on-one match with pinfalls, submissions, countouts, and disqualifications, and a winner would get the win in the Collier shot gauntlet. So Rhino and Sami Callihan are the de facto final round one-on-one match. Like I said, Cactus Special 97 only nets 2 for Callihan. Callihan goes for the chair, ref says no, and then there's a gore by Rhino that nets the 1-2 free. So Rhino gets the contract for him and Heath and a possible Impact Tag title shot. So the runtime for this one was 25-22. The only concern I have with that is that it depends on how long Heath will be out, because it looked like he had pulled a hamstring or did something on the upper leg, on that leg lariat on Fornstall. So we'll see what happens. Like I said, I haven't had a chance to take a look at any of the dirt sheets or any subsequent news coming off of that card. This is purely just first impressions. So we hope for the best for Heath. I can tell you what, he is over as a member of that Impact roster. A lot of people were talking about him last night, in a good way and in a bad way with the injury. So hopefully him and Rhino, they're working off of something that worked well for SmackDown and the WWE brand in 2017 or so, with Heath and Rhino being the first SmackDown Tag Team Champions. I think that, going forward, this is definitely a team, if they're healthy, that could bring nothing but elevation to the tag teams in Impact, especially, love to see a match between those guys in the North for sure. If the North are tag team champions, which we'll talk about a little bit later on. Gia has the North backstage, says they will rise, and then Ethan Page just lets loose in a promo, and the guy is one of the best on the stick right now in pro wrestling across the board, bar none. TNA heavyweight title on the line next. Moose versus EC3. If you want to call this a match, it ran 9:49. Again, it was a cinematic. I totally did not expect to see this as a cinematic. I'm unsure if I'm a fan of the knockoff industrial New Order music here, or Depeche Mode or whatever it was. This match is where... Oh yeah, this is a great point here. I have written down, this match is where not watching on a weekly basis really didn't pay off. And it didn't move the needle for me. So it's basically a cinematic designed to reward the weekly viewer of Impact, so hopefully it did that. Moose retains the title going forward. The storyline basically, and this is just a very unfiltered, unceremonious Wikipedia verbatim quote of the storyline. Starting at Victory Road after being distracted by EC3 in his match against Trey, Moose went looking for EC3 and found a TNA World Heavyweight Championship, but then was attacked from behind by him, who announced he was going to hold a funeral for the title. And then on the October 6th episode of Impact, he conducted a funeral by dropping the title off a bridge as a way to free Moose. On next week's Impact, EC3 fooled Moose into thinking he had gotten rid of the title, and the latter confronted him at the bridge where they brawled, and he reclaimed the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. Basically, this cinematic took place in almost like a gym or a dungeon dojo-like thing with a ring set up, and EC3 with his followers around the ring, and they're all masked up in hoodies and so on and so forth. Very culty looking, and the whole storyline went from there. So again, if you were a week in and week out fan of Impact Wrestling and you followed this thing, good for you. I hope it rewarded you. For the casual viewer, it didn't really make a lot of sense, but other than the fact that, hey, Moose is still TNA Heavyweight Champion, and maybe this is a face turn, I'm not sure. Ken Shamrock, inducted into the Impact Wrestling Hall of Fame by The Rock. Yeah, Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, that guy. Wow, what a get for Impact. That was incredible that they could get The Rock to do the introduction. Pretty cool. The Rock's first appearance on a major North American pro wrestling brand isn't WWE for the year 2020, I should say. Isn't WWE, isn't AEW. It's Impact of all things. So, Scott D'Amore, Don Callis making things happen over there, let me tell you. And, he Skyped in, but it was a very awesome thing. He said the name Impact Wrestling during the thing, so obviously it wasn't a generic, hey Ken, congrats on your induction type video. The Rock put some heart and some soul in this thing. So and the two old rivals, man, that was one of the things I missed in the pre-show. I'm sure Ken was moved big time by his old WWF rival from back in '98 over the Intercontinental title, putting him over in such a way. So that was awesome. Great stuff. And Impact should re-air that as much as they can. Wear the tape out if they have to. That's quite the get for Impact. Kudos to them for sure. And it leads to Ken Shamrock with Sami Callihan taking on Eddie Edwards. Callihan in previous weeks in cahoots with Shamrock and attacking Eddie Edwards. And so this is the match. Love Eddie's tights. Everywhere he's worked is represented. Yes, there's a TNA logo. There's a Pro Wrestling Noah logo. There's a all over the thing on there. It's pretty cool. There was a Pro Wrestling Eve logo on there. I think his wife's initials are on there as well. It's quite the interesting piece for sure. And Shamrock, again, just walking out with the black tights, the kick pads and everything, just straight out of 1998. It's Ken Shamrock. Big knee to the face by Shamrock on Edwards, levels Eddie early. This is almost blood sport style. They kept it amateur for about the first 6 or 7 minutes of this thing. Great match early on. It made Shamrock look like a monster. Yeah, he made him look like Minoru Suzuki in there. I was going to say this after the match, but can we have Shamrock versus Suzuki, please, sometime in 2021 on some card somewhere? Can we please make that happen? Wrestling gods, please. That would be great. Missile drop kick by Edwards only nets a 2 count. A power bomb by Edwards nets 2, but Shamrock locks in the cross arm breaker. That evolves into eventually a backpack stunner by Edwards, but then Shamrock locks in a sleeper. Boston knee party by Edwards into a single leg crab, and then Callihan jumps up on the apron and cuts the lights, and Callihan then steps in the ring and has the baseball bat, but Edwards has a kendo stick. He dispatches Callihan, but a belly-to-belly suplex and the ankle lock by Shamrock nets the W. And the runtime for that one is 12:32. And my pick for match of the night is that one. I love that match. That was a great 10-minute plus match. The right amount of time, the right amount of brawling, right amount of submission wrestling, right amount of amateur MMA stuff. Edwards could feed off of Shamrock. Shamrock could feed off of Edwards. Man, it was great. I'm not the stars guy, but I would give that thing 4 out of 5 stars at least. Like, that was, if there's one match you watch off of this card, it's Shamrock and Edwards. I loved it. Shamrock, again, timeless. And can we please, again, Shamrock versus Minoru Suzuki in 2021 somewhere around the line. Can we please have it at Bloodsport next year? Mania weekend. Josh Barnett, make that happen, man. Alright, I'll stop fanboying out. But this channel is about fanboying, so whatever. The Impact Tag Team titles were on the line next, where you had the North, Ace Austin and Sawyer Fulton, the Motor City Machine Guns, who were the champions, and the Good Brothers Anderson and Gallows. So a 4-way match for the Impact Tag Team titles. The match starts hot as the North jumps the Motor City Machine Guns on the ramp. A double underhook pile driver by Alexander on Shelley. Levels Alex Shelley, and he can't go. So a double underhook pile driver by Alexander levels Alex Shelley, and he can't go. He can't wrestle in this thing. He is hauled off to the back by TNA officials, I said TNA again. Impact. Get the TNA out. He is hauled to the back by Impact officials, and Sabin has to go in at it alone, and he decides to go at it alone, and he starts with Ethan Page in the ring. Sabin is decimated early on by the North. Alexander going for a moonsault, but Sabin evades. Ace Austin and Sawyer Fulton. Ace tags in and works with Sabin a little bit. They have a real Shawn Michaels Diesel vibe, talking Austin and Fulton, probably by design, and it works for them. The big man and the the blue chip showstopper in Ace Austin, the athletic guy that can do anything in the ring, and a huge monster. I look to see more out of this pairing. I think that you're looking at definitely something that once Austin is elevated to world championship status in Impact, I think that this is something that will definitely be that they'll be working with for sure. That will make money for Impact once we start having crowds in. People love to hate the guy. He's got just that he's a great heel. Anderson tags Sabin and finally gets Sabin out. Good Brothers go to work on Austin in the ring, and then Sabin tags himself in, and Anderson tags himself in, and the two of them have an excellent exchange. This was Chris Sabin fighting 6 guys. They said it in the pay-per-view itself. A small package for Sabin, only nets a Falcon Arrow by Sabin on Austin, only nets 2. A Tandem Razor's Edge, only nets 2 for the North. And then it's time for the finish of the match. A Magic Killer attempt thwarted. Page nails Anderson with the belt on the outside, and Alexander then gets the pin on Carl Anderson. New tag champs, they are the North with the 1-2-3. Are they among one of the greatest teams in Impact? A lot of people were talking about it last night on Twitter and Facebook and so on and so forth. So post in the comments below, do you think that the North ranks up there with an LAX? Do they rank up there with an America's Most Wanted? Do they rank up there with a Motor City Machine Guns as, the teams that are, when you think Impact / TNA wrestling, are up there as some of the greats? These guys have had maybe a track record, I want to say probably about a year or so, as a year plus in Impact, and have held the tag team titles more often than not during that year. So, yeah, post it below. Let me see what you think. Right, next match, the Impact Knockouts title, Collier versus Deonna Purrazzo, who's the champion. Deonna, of course, has Kimberly in her corner. One of the heavily hyped matches on social media. Purrazzo out first. I was a little surprised by that. And then Kylie Rae's music hits. No Kylie. Rumor has it is that she was hurt and didn't get medically cleared to wrestle tonight, that she had been working with an injury and just wouldn't be able to wrestle through it and that stuff. At first, people thought that it was something to do with her involvement with the Collective Independent card a few weeks ago, Independent Festival in Indianapolis, Indiana, where there were a few COVID tests that come out of that. Go back on my GCW Bloodsport review for my thoughts on that. But it was also factually proven that she was not involved with anything during Collective Weekend because she had pulled out of her spot on the Black Label Pro show and had actually drove to Nashville and had inquired about call times and so on and so forth. So she just was there Friday, but I guess didn't show up on Saturday for some odd reason, whether it's a minor injury or whatever. Details will probably emerge over the next few. But bottom line was this. Her call time came for the match. She didn't show up. So this is kind of I don't want to say it's an issue with her, but it's a thing where it's, she had kind of the push in AEW with the first Double or Nothing and was kind of involved in that, and then had, the difference in opinion, the falling out, whatever it was, and she left, and so has built her way up in Impact over the last few months, I should say, has built her way up in Impact over the last few months, and now has had this happen. So, hard luck maybe more than anything else. I don't think it's anything about the attitude of the person or anything. I think it's just more, hard luck than anything else. But it wouldn't be Bound for Glory unless there would be something weird happening as well, too. So, par for the course, maybe, over the past few years? Anyways, Deonna issues an open challenge, and Su Young's music hits, and it's Su Young versus Deonna Purrazzo. Purrazzo looks terrified. The match starts hot, and a Paradise Lock attempt by Deonna on Su, but no submission. Su fights back, though, and takes it to the outside, and then Su pulls out the bloody glove, but Deonna fights off. Deonna catches the ref of a pump kick, allowing Kim to come in with the steel chair. Kimberly to come in with the steel chair from the outside. Kim lays out Su, but in an Pillman attempt from the top rope, they were trying to break her arm. In past weeks on Impact, evidently, Su Young's alter ego, Susie, was injured at the hands of Purrazzo and Kimberly. Su locks in the mandible claw, and Kim gets misted in the face. Deonna locks in the Venus de Milo, so there's actually a double submission happening with submission holds on each other, which was actually pretty cool. No submissions there. Su then hits the panic switch for the 1-2-3 and a new Knockouts champion. A good match. Kylie Rae's absence, though, kind of put a pall over everything, and it still kind of does. It's still kind of questionable right now because we, quite frankly, don't know what happened. And I don't know if we'll ever know what happened out of this either. Don't forget, with the Austin Aries stuff a few years ago, we didn't know until like maybe 1 or 2 weeks later what the exact truth was on that deal. So, I guess we'll see what happens when it happens. But again, it wouldn't be Bound for Glory unless there was a little bit of wackiness or weirdness happening. Madison Rayne then announces that the Knockouts tag team titles will return in January at the Hard to Kill pay-per-view, which was announced. So, looking forward to that again in January. Impact moving forward, and this was and is from top to bottom. I've really enjoyed this card up to this point. We're getting to the main event now at this point, which was for the Impact World title, Rich Swann versus Eric Young. Excellent video package leading up to this one. Eric Young coming out with the Terry Sawchuk-esque mask. Yes, for all my old school hockey nerds. I think he's been coming out to these title matches and that's of a different variation of a old school goaltender's mask. From the 60s or 70s. Like when he debuted at Slammiversary, he had Gary Cheevers, and now this one kind of looking like this one tonight looking like Terry Sawchuk. I can't wait to see what the world-class Maniac has to offer at Hard to Kill. We'll see. Lots of drama on the ankle and leg of Rich Swann. Very good storytelling, of course, all throughout the year. Rich has been fighting, the broken ankle, broken leg that he suffered at the, I think it's called the Bash at the Brewery that they had just prior to Hard to Kill back in January. And, that's been the storyline, is him coming back from the injury and then the injury being exacerbated somewhat at Slammiversary by Eric Young, and, of course, the rivalry being built off of that. So Swann taking it to the outside with a ton of flips and high spots. Swann evades EY with a handspring, but catches himself on the apron. So now the shoulder is compromised. So there goes the selling of the injury on the leg, and now it's the neck shoulder area. Some fairly decent psychology. I would love to see more work with the leg and ankle, kind of, because that's the big thing that they've been pushing all year. And it kind of seems like they just abandoned this, at the beginning of the match and decided to do something different. But, it didn't matter. Young hits a cutter from the top, only nets 2. A neck breaker from Young on Swann, only nets 2. A DVD, a Death Valley driver by Young, only nets a 2 count. And then a pile driver attempt by Young, and it's forwarded for 2. So Swann just keeps fighting back. Then finally Swann gets some offense going. Swann hits his air raid splash for only 2. And then 2 cutters by Swann and an aviator splash nets the 1-2-3 for Swann. Well deserved. The runtime for this thing was 21:31, and it was a quality 21:31. Post-match, the entire locker room comes out, a feel-good moment, and a prompt out of 2 hours, 51 minutes, and 0 seconds as we fade to black. My rating out of 10 for this show for Bound for Glory 2020 is a solid 8 out of 10. This was a quality card from top to bottom. The young core that Impact has mixed with the veterans that they've got that can actually wrestle and they can tell stories now. Impact you can't sleep on. They are amazing. Brian Myers looked amazing in the Battle Royal. You had Chris Sabin and Alex Shelley just basically telling a great story in that four-way tag team match, along with the North and Chris Sabin, and then still the showcase with Ace Austin, Sawyer Fulton, and the Good Brothers involved in that as well too. All four teams busted their ass in that deal. It was great. You got the question marks now with Kylie Ray. What's up with that? What's going on? You've got a young championship. Champion, I guess. A young champion, I should say, with Rich Swann as your Impact World Champion. You've got, like I said, Rohit as the X Division champion, with hungry contenders all over the place with that. And then, of course, you have the veteran, the crusty old Ken Shamrock aligned with Sami Callihan. Impact's going to be fun to watch going into January for sure. And it proves another great alternative for anybody who's much like me, kind of a little burnt out on the WWE product and can appreciate AEW and loves AEW and can appreciate New Japan and what they do and loves watching New Japan, but they just want to check out some, North American wrestling, but from a different angle, and find out, hey, what some of your favorites are doing, like Eddie Edwards, what's the Good Brothers doing, guys like that right now. Tune on Impact, check it out. It looks great. I wish they got some fans coming back, and maybe they will. Maybe they'll start getting some fans back in their buildings for their tapings, and it'll be good. But you can't sleep on Impact right now. They are rising fast, and for once it looks like they're pulling all the right moves here. So, all right, folks, later days, happy wrestling watching. Stay tuned for the channel for more wrestling commentary and all around good stuff. If you like this video, pass it along to your friends, click the notification bell, and click subscribe. And if you are a racing fan, go check out my other channel as well, tinyurl.com/dragfiles, where we take a look at drag racing, basically. High performance cars, all sorts of drag racing, from the professionals on to the guys who do bracket racing on the weekends at your local track. So all right, folks, later days, we'll see you again. Stay safe.